Yo ho! Hey, it's Bo the Mechanic again. Today, I'm going to show you guys what I've been up to. I haven't been on and made any videos in a little while. I've been really busy. I bought a bunch of land, I'm building a new shop, and I've just been all over the place, man, trying to do crazy shit. My newest thing though, last Friday I bought a backhoe. I was going to show you guys what I bought. This is a 1969-1970 Case 580. I've been looking for a backhoe for a real long time, just because they're cool. And that's it, you know, with a backhoe, I mean, you kind of, the market for a backhoe is really expensive, you know. They're, at least here in Tennessee it is. A backhoe will set you back, you know, $5 or $6 grand. Lucky for me, I found this one. She looks real rough, but in reality, she was cheap. I bought her for really cheap for scrap price. And believe it or not, it's a diesel. It's a 4-cylinder diesel, like old Case 188, which is a really common engine. They made them for a long time. They put them in a lot of loaders and a lot of crazy stuff. But there's still an aftermarket for all this stuff, and that's one of the reasons I bought it. I looked at a bunch of different. I've been looking at backhoes and heavy equipment for a long time. But the Cases, this is like the Ferrari. This is the Chevy pickup of like heavy equipment. You know, if you get into like the John Deeres and you get into the Caterpillars and Komatsu backhoes, water pumps are $500 or $600. Hydraulic pumps are $2,000. You get into these old Cases and you can get a rebuilt, this is a hydraulic pump, you can get a rebuilt hydraulic pump on eBay for $300. You can get a water pump for $50. Fuel filters, they sell them all over the place. Super cheap, easy to find. Rebuilt injection pump, super easy to find. Shuttle shifts, this is a shuttle shift. And you can find these things, man, for super cheap. You can get them for rebuild. The whole rebuild kit's $300. So, you know, this is like what you want. If you're going to get an old backhoe and you know what you're doing, or if you're a mechanic, this is the one you want. You want an old Case 580. Any of the old ones, the 580, this is a 580 CK, but you can get a 580B or a 580C, and you'd be doing awesome. As you can see, I just got the bucket up in the air. I should have probably made a video earlier, but I kind of just didn't have time. I was just running around. So, I mean, basically, I got this last Friday. I got it shipped in this week on a low boy, and I'm yanking the engine out. I got it running. I checked the shuttle shift. I checked the outriggers, and you can see they all leak, but that's just to be expected. This thing sat in a field for 5 years. So she sat in a field for 5 years, but amazingly enough, everything still works on her. I just got it running, and the diesel sounds like a crackhead knocking. It knocks so bad. So they're really common that these old 188s will throw rods. So I think that's what's happened. I'm gonna yank this engine out, break it down, bring it to the machine shop, and my buddy Kenny has tons of parts for him. So hopefully we'll have a crank kit there. We'll just fix this crank if it's not horrible, but I bet it is, or use one of his old cranks, because like I said, he's got a machine shop. You know, but I mean, the important part is just that the transmission works. You know, the transmission already works. It, you know, I moved it here and got it running and backed it all around, and I got all the boom and the bucket and the dipper. All these cylinders work, and the boom and the dipper and the boom, they don't even leak. And this bucket cylinder does. But the reason that it does, I don't even think that it would have. But when we got it loaded up on the low boy, an old guy, an old farmer, he was really nice, but he had a backhoe, and this was all down, you know, and is in the upright position so you could move it, and he pushed it with his damn bucket, and he bent the hell out of this. I'm pretty sure he bent the hell out of this rod when it was extended. I bet that one probably didn't even leak. If he wouldn't have hit it, I bet it didn't even leak. You know, you can see that whoever had this, I mean, she's been wore out, you know. Nobody's even greased her in years. But, I mean, that's kind of how these old ones are. She's old, but she's good. This is a lighter backhoe as well. Like, she probably only weighs, I'd say, maybe 13,000 pounds, 12 or 13,000 pounds, depending on the tires, if they're hydraulically or filled with liquid or not. You know, backhoes, pretty much you buy a backhoe if it's, you know, if it's complete, if it runs, if there's no play in these pins right here. These are the shitty ones to fix. These pins right here and down there to your swing. If those are good, and most of your pins are good, then you've got a good backhoe, you know, and if she runs. A lot of people don't like these older ones, but, you know, whatever. But like I said, I just wanted to show you guys what I got. This is, like I said, a 69 or 70 Case 580 CK. 4-cylinder diesel, shuttle shift, power shuttle, whatever you want to call it. Pretty wild. She's got like, I don't even know how many hours. Hell, let's look. Not that many. 75, or maybe 7,000, or maybe 10,000, or 17,000. Who knows? Definitely the other thing you want to check on these old machines is once you get them running, you want to check the damn clutch pressure, if this even still works on your machine. I was lucky to get it running, and the clutch pressure, man, is up in like the 150s, so it's still good. I don't know if somebody adjusted it or what, but it's still good, and that was an awesome for me. I was kind of worried about that. I couldn't get it started in the lady's farm, just sitting in the field. But like I said, from sitting here, she's rocking. Anyway, so what I'm gonna do now is yank this whole engine out. So as I've already taken off the cover, shroud, all that shit, I'm gonna yank the radiator out. It had a pinhole leak in it. I'm gonna yank all of this stuff off. I've got her supported now, as you can see. I've just got it supported here. I'm just gonna break the whole, take all the front stuff and all the accessories off, and I'm gonna break the engine apart and just slide it right out with a backhoe over the skid steer here. This is a pretty nice New Holland. It needs new tires, but these are awesome little skid steers as well. It's an LS 180. These little things are fun. I gotta buy some new tires for it, but anyway, that's what I've been up to. Next video, I'll have to make another video for you guys and show you my land. I bought 7 acres right on the brow. I'm gonna build a new shop. I've been messing around with my Mercedes too. How about this right here? This is my 83 Mercedes-Benz 300 SD. I just got a new rear A-arm for this side. I bought it for scrap and it ran. And this A-arm had been ripped completely off. If they get bad, they'll get rust in the bottom of the A-arm and they'll just completely rip apart. And that's what happened to this thing. But check this bad boy out. Interior's pretty nice. Running on 100% waste motor oil. No diesel, just waste motor oil. Got a stack, of course, because every dirty bird should. Messed with the Alda, turned her up. She's got as much power as she's gonna get. As you can see, she just puffs. Pretty redneck, huh? Let me show you guys what I'm talking about. 100% waste motor oil. These old Mercedes are badass. I've tried to explain to a lot of people about these, but how about that? Sorry for waiting. Put new fuel filters in or change the oil, change the antifreeze, check the transmission fluid, and right there you go. 100% waste motor oil. If you guys can tell, that's all black oil. These Mercedes, these are the toughest Mercedes ever made. This is one of the toughest diesel engines ever made. It's more tough than a Cummins, more tough than anything else. This block right here, 5-cylinder turbocharged, you know, non-intercooled, but it doesn't matter. She's only got like 130 horsepower or something, but these things are badass. If you can find one of these, this is the Apocalypse car in Wired Magazine, actually. Wired Magazine's a techno magazine for kind of technophobes, techno gurus. And Wired Magazine actually had last month, they had the Mercedes-Benz 300 SD. This is the Apocalypse car of the year. This thing will run on waste motor oil, biodiesel, vegetable oil, waste vegetable oil just out of the damn fryer. It'll run on any hydrocarbon you can find. Gear oil, as long as you thin it down. Any of that shit. As you can see, I run 100% waste motor oil. I just get it. I don't even clean it for right now because I don't have my centrifuge hooked up. But I'll do another video and show you guys what the centrifuge looks like. But as you can see, it's just straight up waste motor oil. I take it out of a car, I put it right in here. Not good for the filters, it runs through the filters, but filters are cheap. Diesel's $4 a gallon. So this is one of my other sweet ass cars. Anyway, back to work. Next thing you guys see, I'll have this whole thing yanked apart, hopefully the diesel engine out. And I'll show you guys where the damage is, probably on like the number 4 rod. It sounds like the number 4 rod's just clanking away. We're gonna get her rebuilt and get a new lease on life. Hey kids, it's Brother Mechanic again. Check this out. I told you guys I was gonna take apart the backhoe. Let me show you what I got. Earlier I showed you guys I was gonna yank apart my backhoe and figure out what the hell's wrong with it. I bought this, shitty backhoe. This is what it looks like when you yank it completely apart. It's really scary. You gotta support the loader's gotta be up in the air. At least that's the easiest way. So I got my safeties, and then I got my bars. Looks kind of scary, but it's just zip tied. So that thing's holding the load right now. You got a backup over there. chains and straps, and then I've got a skid that I actually put the skid bucket up underneath it to hold it. So it's not as scary as it really looks. But this is what it looks like. This is called splitting the tractor. Okay, splitting a tractor, splitting a backhoe, whatever you want to call it. And lo and behold, this is what I found, you know, when I yanked it apart. Like I told you guys, I bought this thing for scrap. So, you know, she had wicked tires, and I just made a judgment call and thought, you know, fuck it, whatever. The tires are worth a shit ton. Tires on these things are like $800 each. So if you find a backhoe and you're thinking about buying a backhoe and you don't know much about it, but it runs, if it runs and you boom it up and it's got not very much play in the back, not very much play in the bushings, not very much play in the front end, and good tires, then it's probably a good deal if you get it for cheap enough. This thing, like I said, it came with good tires, so I figured worst case I could sell the tires for a couple $100, scrap everything off of it and sell it if I had to, and just scrap the rest of the tractor. But lucky for me, or unlucky for me, I got it running earlier, and I operated all the cylinders and they all work. They just leak a little bit, different ones. I operated the shuttle shift, and I drove it around, man. I drove it up and around the shop here, and you know, the shuttle shift worked. It had good pressure. It went forward and reverse, and at least the first 2 gears, but I didn't want to run it very long. Back cylinders, I got it to do everything she's supposed to do. And anyway, so, you know, it was just knocking. It was knocking horribly. And I know it was a rod. It sounded like the rod was about to throw through the block. So I had to yank it apart. And, you know, when I got in there, what's going on right there is what you're seeing is the shuttle shift fluid, I think. The shuttle shift fluid, that input seal on the back side of that, it's kind of like a torque converter. On the back side of it, it's leaking. So the seal's failed and it's leaking fluid into the bell housing. Not a real big deal. I think those seals are like $20. So it's not that big of a deal. So we'll get that fixed, and you can see all that white. It's either got water in it or that's air from being run super low. Like I said, man, it sat in the field for 5 years, so you know, shouldn't try and give her a new lease on life. She was cheap enough. Well, here you go. This is the motor, broke down. This is the motor, completely broke down. This is the head. Now the head, doesn't look that bad. The head doesn't actually look that bad. It doesn't really look like it was getting hit or making any contact. There's some corrosion on that first cylinder right there and some pitting. It looks like something's been beating the hell out of the inside of the seat. You can see the seat's all wore out. I'll get all that fixed hopefully though. We'll bring it to the machine shop and we'll do what we need to do to get it right, the head at least. Bottom end is kind of what I wanted to show you guys. I've already started breaking it down. You know, this would be cylinder 1, 2, 3, 4. You know, but I wanted to show you guys, this is what it looks like when you have a spun bearing. Or, you know, a lot of times you guys will hear somebody say, oh, you ruined your motor, you ran it with no oil, and now it's got a spun bearing. This is a bearing, this is a rod cap, okay? And that rod cap sits right here. And ideally there would be a, what's called a bearing. And as you can see, this is all that's left of mine, okay? She is toasted, okay? This is it's what is called a spun bearing. The clearances get so loose. These clearances in here are supposed to be super tight. They get super loose over years of use and or lack of lubrication, lack of, you know, keeping it clean, you know, you don't change the oil enough, etc., etc. Basically, sand and debris gets in here and shit, and gets inside here, and it gets in between the two clearances, the oil and this bearing, and it just eats it up slowly but surely, like sandpaper, just eats it up. And eventually you get enough clearance, and that clearance will let this bearing just spin. Okay, it'll just spin inside there, and it just goes like this. See, I can do it right now, just like that. So anyway, that's what we've got. Okay, and it doesn't usually happen on the main bearings. Your main bearings don't usually ever wear out. You know, usually, I mean, you'll get tons of wear in them, but they won't spin usually. Main bearings don't usually spin. I say that. I mean, it can happen, but it's usually rare. Okay. But anyway, so I just wanted to kind of show you guys and kind of just let you look and see what it looks like on the inside of an engine when it's broken down. You know, this is main bearing. That'd be your main bearing number 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then your rods in between. That's where your piston and rod goes in and out. And, you know, your piston's on the other side. And there you go. There's your pistons. So anyways, like I said, I'm going to have to get a new crank most likely for this. I'm going to end up getting a new crank, shaft. You know, I'm going to have to check all the rods. I'm going to have to get all new rods as well. You just don't know at this point. But there you go.